Welcome to Ditch Auto Unlocking Manual Photography. My name's Jared, and today we're going to talk about changing lenses and safety precautions in changing lenses. Now, a lot of times when I see photographers change lenses, they grab their camera and they hold it like so, and they're exposing the sensor to the world. Now, in DSLR cameras, you do have the mirror that kind of covers the sensor and protects against the potential of hitting that sensor. And then of course, also when your camera is off, the shutter is closed, so the sensor is not exposed. But you still have potential for elements to get in there and get all over the mirror, and then that can affect your photo as well. So you want to be careful in that instance. So what I have always done is changed lenses holding the camera down. It's much harder for something to fly up into your camera than it is for something to drop down into your camera. So if you're holding your camera out like this, dust and other particles can just drop down into it. When you're holding your camera face down like this, you know, it might be a little bit harder. You kind of have to, look underneath the camera maybe a little bit and line up the lens so that you can connect it. But nonetheless, I feel that's a much safer way of doing so. Now, on these newer cameras that are mirrorless, your sensor is very exposed to the world. There's no mirror in there blocking your sensor. There's no physical shutter covering your lens, your sensor. As you can see in this camera, the sensor is right there. I mean, I could touch it with my finger. That would be the worst thing possible that I could do. I mean, I could even see a little speck of dust on that sensor right now. So it's very important for me to hold my camera down and then attach the lens to it like so, instead of holding my camera up in a way where it can collect dust and other things like that. On either camera, it's gonna be a bad deal. And as long as you have your camera, your DSLR camera powered down appropriately, you're gonna have the protection of the mirror being in the way and most likely the shutter being closed as well. But if your sensor is exposed at any time with your DSLR, then you definitely wanna be careful when taking that lens off. And especially with these new mirrorless cameras, it's even easier for you to get junk on your sensor. And when you have stuff on the sensor, that's definitely going to show up in your photos. So one thing that I have noticed with DSLR cameras is because of that mirror, when you are looking through the eyepiece of your camera, which is then you're seeing the mirror, you could see a lot of the dust and debris that's on your mirror. So keeping that clean makes it a lot easier for you to see what's going on through your actual eyepiece on here. Now with the mirrorless, you're in your eyepiece and on the back of the camera, you're seeing digitally what the sensor sees. So you're gonna be able to see if there's any spots or anything like that on your sensor, and you're gonna know whether you need to be able to clean it. Then you're definitely gonna know when you go and look at your photos if there's something on your sensor with both cameras. So that's something that you really have to be careful of because especially on these mirrorless cameras, the mirror is exposed. The sensor, is exposed, and that sensor is very delicate, just as it is with DSLR cameras, although the DSLR cameras do have an added layer of protection with that mirror in the way. But nonetheless, there are still ways to take a lens off of a DSLR camera and have that sensor exposed. So be very careful when changing lenses. Use my tip of kind of holding your camera facing down. It's much easier for stuff to fall into your camera when you're holding it face up. And obviously if you damage or mess up the sensor on your camera, whether it's a DSLR or a mirrorless, you're gonna be looking at costly fixes or costly cleaning sessions. So just be safe and be careful when switching the lenses on your camera, and you'll have a very long life out of that camera and that sensor. Thanks for checking out this week's episode of Ditch Auto. Join in on the conversation that all of us are having on Facebook by joining our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/ditchauto. Thanks a lot.